Today I'm trying a recipe for green bean supreme from Better Homes and Gardens' all-time favorite vegetable recipes. If you'd like to try this recipe for yourself, it's written in the description below this video. And if you'd like to go straight to the cooking portion, you can skip ahead to this timestamp. This cookbook was published in 1977. One of the first things that I notice is a huge difference in design. This is the Make Ahead cookbook that I covered a couple of videos ago. This was originally published in 1971, and this was published in 1977. I mean, look. Such a difference. Like, you can definitely tell some time has passed. You don't get the colorful photos on the back like you would in some earlier Better Homes and Gardens cookbooks. I also feel like the photography style is just a little bit different. The lighting to me looks different. The colors are a little bit more muted. The times they are a changin'. The way this cookbook is arranged is sort of like an A to Z vegetable book. They put it this way: from artichokes to zucchini. Each section starts with a description of whatever vegetable they're going to be covering, along with tips on selecting asparagus, preparing it, cooking it, and then if they have any special advice, they have a little tip at the bottom. As I was flipping through this cookbook, taking my notes as I usually do, I made a discovery: the exact broccoli onion deluxe recipe that appeared in the Make Ahead cookbook, and they even used the same photograph. So again, we have a case where recipes get repurposed over the years. I see this a lot in Better Homes and Gardens cookbooks as well as Betty Crocker cookbooks. If you've got a good thing, why not? Why not reuse it? If people love that recipe, they're gonna keep making it. You know how I said this is an A to Z cookbook? You know that means that we have a little chapter on celery. Celery slaw, crisp dilled celery, baked celery with almonds, none of which I am going to be trying. I thought this was a lovely photograph. Cucumber ring supreme. So it is kind of a gelatinous dish, but it is pretty. I do like how they have it arranged with these very thin slices of cucumber around the edge, and then you fill the center with cherry tomatoes. Very nice presentation. Doesn't mean I'm gonna make it. They also have this little area for pickle making pointers. I think pickling gained popularity once again a few years back. I'm sure some of you never stopped making pickles. I tend to make refrigerator pickles, but this has like all varieties of pickles. I feel like they could have maybe come up with a few more ways to use parsnips, just the two recipes. I personally love parsnips. I don't see them too often prepared or as a very popular vegetable, but what do you think? Do you like parsnips? Have you ever even tried parsnips? I think you should. They're pretty delicious. The potato chapter, very, very chock full of recipes because potatoes have a pretty wide appeal. Hash brown omelet. I actually want to try this one. It sounds delicious. It does kind of seem more like a frittata than an omelet to me. The crust itself is made of like hash browns. Then you pour the egg mixture over the top and let it cook that way, and then you cut it into wedges. Potato salad roll. So you're kind of making mashed potatoes with all of the little extras that you would find in a potato salad, and then you pat it into a rectangle on foil, put a layer of cottage cheese on top of that, and then you roll it in like a jelly roll style, like a jelly roll cake. The presentation sounds very fun, but I don't know. I feel like I would definitely mess that up anyway. I feel like it would be maybe difficult to get all of the things to hold together, but maybe not. Maybe I'll try that this summer. A different way to serve potato salad. Wait, I think I've spotted another recipe that I've made before. Yup, herbed spinach bake. This recipe I made from one of the very early Better Homes and Gardens cookbooks, from the like original 8 skinny cookbooks that exist. I think it was maybe from Better Homes and Gardens Lunches and Brunches. I remember liking it, so I guess it made the cut in 1977. We have pages and pages of tomato recipes as well. Veracruz tomatoes. Now this sounded really good to me. Cook some spinach in some like bacon fat with onions, mix it with some sour cream, and then you like stuff that mixture inside tomatoes, and then you bake all of this together. That's another one on my to try list. Something that's not really on my to try list is this tomato aspic. This book also has a lot of canning tips in it, not just what to do with the vegetables, like how to prepare them, but how to preserve them. If you grow a lot of your own vegetables, I'm terrible at that. I don't really do that. Or, you know, someone gifts you with bushels and bushels of tomatoes. This book can tell you how to preserve them for future use if you have too many. And the final chapter of this book is called Vegetable Combinations. Different ways that you can combine all of this produce to make something amazing. Vegetable beef soup, succotash, vegetable tempura, all kinds of stuff. So the recipe I am trying out today is green beans supreme. And to me, just glancing through the ingredients and the process, it looks like a twist on a green bean casserole. There's no cream of mushroom soup, but it does have a creamy sauce made with sour cream. There's also a little bit of lemon zest in this, which kind of like, I think would brighten up the flavors a bit. So I'm pretty excited to try it and see how this turns out. So the first step to making green bean supreme is to cook your green beans. So I am just going to use these frozen French cut green beans and cook them according to package directions. I'm cutting this recipe in half, but I have the full recipe in the description down below. Now that my 5 minutes are up, I've got some nice cooked bright green beans, so I am gonna drain these and set them aside. Next, I have some butter, and I'm gonna melt that in my pan. Now that the butter is mostly melted, I have some sliced onion and some dry parsley. You can use fresh parsley. Actually, that's what it directs you to do in the recipe, but I don't have any right now. Just remember that dried herbs are stronger in flavor than fresh herbs, and you need to cut back the amount that it states in the recipe. Ooh, this is smelling good. I think a little piece of green bean snuck in there off of my spatula. Yeah, I see it right there. While the onion is cooking and getting nice and tender, I'm going to add my lemon zest. The original recipe says half a teaspoon, so I'm going for 1/4 teaspoon, and I'm also not going to measure it. Oh yeah, it smells really good. So now that the onion is pretty tender, I'm gonna add my flour, salt, and pepper. Now the salt and pepper actually are not included in the ingredients list. They don't include the measurements or anything in there until you get to the recipe. So I will write them out in the recipe that I put in my description, just so people know that you will need that as an ingredient. Once you've cooked that flour for a little bit, just to get that raw flour taste out of there, you're gonna slowly add your milk and keep stirring it while you add the milk. So that's gonna get nice and thick and bubbly, make nice sauce for our green beans. We're getting closer, we're getting closer. This dish comes together very quickly. Got my sour cream. This dish comes together so quickly that I would highly encourage you to have all of your ingredients measured and ready to go. I typically do that for my videos, but if you're making this in real life, it's a good thing to do, I think. A little lumpy, work those lumps out. You might want to get a little whisk out and kind of whisk some of those around if they're not breaking up for you, but I think they're okay. So now that we have our lovely sauce, I'm gonna add those cooked green beans that I prepared earlier. You can use fresh green beans as well. I always have frozen green beans on hand. I like to keep frozen vegetables in my freezer, of course, my freezer. Easier to have on hand, especially for a small household, I think. You know, you don't have to worry about buying a ton of produce and letting it accidentally go bad or anything like that. You always have vegetables in your freezer. Heat till just bubbly, but get that bubbling. All right, so I don't normally do this. I'm just gonna add a dash of like some seasoned salt. I think it needs it. Don't tell the people in charge of vintage cookbooks that I am slightly altering the recipe. I swear I didn't put that much in. It just doesn't come out very easily. Just a touch. It just needed like a little some extra. If you've watched any of my other videos, then you'll know that I find a lot of the recipes just slightly on the under-seasoned side. It's hot, it's bubbly, and it's ready to go into the casserole dish. Got a spring blossom dish. This is a small one. It's less than 1 quart because the full recipe makes a quart and I'm cutting it in half. It's a little difficult to do this for the camera, but I'm gonna try. Yeah, even this dish is a little bit bigger than I probably needed. Okay, we're smoothing it out. So that's what we have so far. For the topping, I have some melted butter here, and I'm just gonna add some breadcrumbs to that. And then you stir those around. Let those breadcrumbs soak up all that melted butter, and then they'll get nice and crispy. So another component of the topping is American cheese. I know you could probably use a lot of other kinds of cheeses to top this casserole. The recipe says American cheese, so that's what I'm going with, but I think it would be great with just like regular cheddar cheese or Swiss cheese. Parmesan cheese probably would be very good as well. We're gonna try it the original way for the most part, other than that little dash of seasoned salt that I added. And now we go and add the crumbs. I do love a breadcrumb topping, and that seems to be like the go-to of casseroles and dishes like this from the past. And once you bake that in the oven or broil it, it gets so delicious and crispy, and it's just a really nice touch. So now this is ready for the broiler. So it just goes under the broiler for maybe 2 minutes until the topping is brown and melty. and then I'll be ready to give it a taste. Here it is, cheesy and delicious. Now, I don't think this is gonna fully replace your traditional green bean casserole. I love that stuff. But this is kind of a nice change of pace for maybe a different holiday or just a weeknight dinner. It did come together very fast. We're gonna dish just a little of that into a bowl here. That's what we're working with. It is tasty. I like it a lot. I personally want a little more seasoning as usual, but that's just me. You might like it as is. I would probably add a little garlic salt or maybe like a seasoning blend, Trader Joe's 21 seasoning salute or Green Goddess seasoning, something like that. I think this is really tasty and it's a little bit different than your everyday green beans. Just a little bit more special. You can take another bite. If you happen to love recipes and cookbooks from the 1970s like I do, I have an entire playlist and I will link it in the description down below. I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope it gave you some good ideas for your holiday table. If you did like this video, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel. I post videos about food, vintage cookbooks, and retro recipes every week. Thanks again, and I will see you in my next video. Bye.